Hi, my name is Gudrun from GE Designs, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make the GEasy travel pillowcase with a hidden pocket. You will find a downloadable PDF pattern under free patterns on our website gequiltdesigns.com. There you will find all of the measurements to do the cutting for your pillowcase. What you need is your main fabric for the main body of the pillowcase, which will also be used for the pocket, and then we need an accent fabric for the cuff. I've already gone ahead and cut my strips, so I have my strips cut of both fabrics, but we want to subcut the main fabric. The reason why I do this way and have an extra seam in my pillowcase versus you may have seen this done before is because this will let us utilize the fabric much better, less waste, and also be able to use only a ½ yard. So what I'm going to do, since I'm using my Stripology XL ruler, is fold this in half, just raw edges together, because it's a little too wide to fit under my ruler. And then I'm going to align my ruler, making sure I have a horizontal line on the fold, and then make my subcut. So I'm cutting my 16-inch wide piece, cut on the 0, and then on the 16. And here I have my two main bodies of the pillowcase, and then we're going to use this leftover for our cuff. So this needs to be about an 8½ inch. This is not for our cuff, for our pocket, excuse me. So this needs to be about an 8½ inch square. So I just start by turning it and cutting my 8½ inch square, aligning any horizontal line on that top fold. Just going to cut through the 0 and 8½. And I know it's going to be probably a little bit wider the other way. So I'm going to just press that crease out. And then make the cuts. And this way, if I have some fun prints on here, you can kind of decide what you want in the middle of your pocket, because the middle of the 8½ is going to be the center of the pocket. So we are going to make the cut through the 0 and then 8½. All right, so I have my pocket, and I'm going to start off by making the pocket. So what I'm going to do first is just, if you have directional fabric, you want to fold it over right sides together and sew along the side seam. So we're just going to stitch down here. Now what I want to do is I want to position this seam kind of in the middle of the inside of my pocket. So I'm going to fold this like this and then open my seam and press it open. And at the same time, I'm just pressing my pocket flat like this. So now I'm going to stitch along the bottom. Stitched along the bottom, and now I'm going to turn my pocket. You of course can customize the size of this pocket however you want to. You could make it even as big as for a mini iPad, make it fit a phone, whatever you want to do. So it's great if you're traveling to have, of course, your headphones, anything else. So now I have it pressed on 3 sides. We have a raw edge on top, so we're just going to fold that inwards. Fold the raw edges inwards and press it, and just top stitch the whole top so that we close that upper edge of that pocket. So, and now we're going to add, if you want to, add a little piece of Velcro. If you want to have a closure on the pocket, you don't have to, but I'm going to stitch this closed, and then I'm going to stitch one of my pieces of Velcro on the back side. So you want to kind of center it below the edge and then center it on that middle seam. Now I have the pocket sewn. I have the Velcro on one side, on the back side. So we're going to move on and take our pillowcase piece. Now this is the front, and then one side will be the front and one side will be the back. Now you can decide. I decided my front was going to be this side, so if I flipped it, it would also be right side up because I have directional fabric. So to do that, I will sew this piece. We're going to sew it along the 16-inch side. So you sew them the same way, same orientation. So we're going to just fold this over and then stitch along this edge. Just sew them together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're just going to press the seam to one side. And again, the reason why we have a seam in here is because we get away with using a lot less fabric. We utilize our fabric so much better this way instead of having it whole. So now we need less fabrics as well. So now we're going to attach the pocket, and you can kind of decide where do you want that to be. Now, if you have directional fabric, if you want to really place it where it hides, like I did with my Grinch fabric, I was able to kind of match up the pocket so it's kind of hidden. We want it to be on one side. So I am going to sew it here to the lower side. Doesn't really matter either or, doesn't really matter which one you do. So you can just place your pocket wherever you want. And I'm just going to pin a couple of sides, but kind of down here because we still have to attach our other piece of Velcro and to make it match up with this top. So this way I have this available to flip down. So I want to know exactly where my Velcro is going to hit, and that's where your opposite piece needs to be sewn in. And I'm going to just do a little handy. I'm going to use my sew line glue stick and place some glue on the back side of this piece, and now easy to figure out where it needs to be positioned, and I just stick it right on my fabric. Push this out of the way. I'm going to clip it out of the way, and now I'm just going to start by stitching this to that piece of fabric, the main body of the pillowcase. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to flip this up and then top stitch along the outer 3 edges of the pocket. Obviously, we're leaving the top open. Now we have our pocket sewn in, and it has the Velcro working properly. So next is just to add our cuff, and we are going to be using the burrito method for our cuff. So I still have it just the full strip. You can trim it down to 27.5 inches, or if you are in a bit of a time crunch, you can always just trim to size, because this is we can just leave it longer and then trim it afterwards. So I start by, actually, we're going to flip this over. So we're going to have the cuff piece on the bottom, right side up. And then we're going to place our pillowcase piece. You got the pocket on this side, so we're going to flip this right sides together. And before I pin this edge, let me trim this to the right size first. I'm going to just clean my raw edges or my selvages off of my cuff piece here, so I can align these edges on this end. So, and then just aligning main body of the pillowcase and trimming it to the same size on the other side. That's how easy it can be. You don't really have to measure it for this project. So now we have the raw edges aligned. And before we even pin or do anything, we're going to fold this main body of the pillowcase up because we're going to use the burrito method for this, for piecing this cuff on. So we're going to bring the other raw edge of the pillowcase around here, and here's where we're going to either clip or you can pin. I like the clips when we have something bulky in the middle, so we can make sure that all three raw edges are aligned, and we can clip all the way down. So now I'm going to go ahead and stitch all the way down. Now we have our burrito, and we can turn it. We pull the main body of the pillowcase just out through the opening. That way we have created the whole cuff, and all of our raw edges are inside, hidden and covered. So you don't see any raw edges. It's all inside the cuff piece this way. So now we just want to give it a good press from both sides. Kind of pull on the cuff a little bit to press it. And I don't go and press this part yet. I like to press this very, very tight away here first. And then I flip it over and push it out on this side. And then I can go all the way and press that crease nice and crisp. There we are. So now all we have to do is fold the pillowcase in half and stitch the two sides. And what we're going to do here, so that we can have really nice and clean edges with no raw seams anywhere, we're going to do a French seam technique. So we're going to start by laying this together, aligning with the wrong sides together, and pin it, or you can use clips as well. I like pins when we have just a couple of layers of fabric. And then we're going to sew along the outside and the edge here with just an 1/8 of an inch seam. So not a 1/4 inch seam, just an 1/8 of an inch around, and so that you catch the edges, and then we turn it and sew it and hide all those raw edges. So now we have the raw edges sewn. All we got to do now is turn the pillowcase, put the inside out, push out the seams a bit, and I like to just give it a little bit of a press. A little bit of a press. So pull out the corner. I want to make sure we catch all the seams. So what this does is when you go again along the edge with a 1/4 inch seam, it will encase that raw edge with that little seam that you did before. So give it a good press, and then we're going to go ahead and stitch with a 1/4 inch seam along the two sides that you just did. So now we are just going to turn it. As you can see, we sewed, covered the seam. You will have one raw edge, and that's on this side, but since it's on the inside and not along the cuff, I feel like it doesn't matter. You can always add a zigzag to that, or even in the full beginning, do a French seam on that side too. Now we just turn it right side out. We give it a good final press, and then the last thing to do is find our pillow form. This will fit a 12 by 16 travel pillow. If you can't find travel pillow forms wherever you are, this is also a very classic pillow form for decorative pillows. And of course, you can stick a phone or whatever for a child, a gift card, or anything they need for a road trip or the plane, anything they need to entertain themselves. And it's all right there and not lost with your I hope you enjoyed making the GEasy travel pillow. So easy and ready to be made for the whole family. You know, not just for kids. It's great for adults because who wants to travel with their big bed pillow? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.